Hello, everyone. Welcome to Move More, Worry Less. I'm your host, Paige Festa, the founder and designer at 13 Fit Apparel. If you listen to our podcast on the reg, you know that we launch an episode every other Tuesday, but this month is special. It is Black History Month, so we are launching a bonus episode to feature Project Onyx. Today, I have two guests with me, which is very exciting, and it's the first time we've done anything like this. We have the president and co-founder of Project Onyx, Pat, and one of the members and athletes who has now become a coach and mentor, Jay. We talk about Project Onyx's mission, Black History Month, and anti-racism. So without further ado, here is our episode with Project Onyx. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to two people. I have Pat Ford here, who is the co-founder and president of Project Onyx and a member slash athlete slash mentor, Jay. And Jay, I'm going to have you introduce yourself with your last name because I don't want to mess it up. If you guys want to say hi, give a little intro on who you are. Pat, if you want to start it out, and then we'll move on to Jay.
Yeah, so just like you said, Paige, I am the president and co-founder of Project Onyx. Professionally, outside of that, I'm a doctor of physical therapy and really got started with all of this back in the summer of 2020. And we've been able to have awesome people like Jay go through the program from being a mentee and one of our athletes into becoming a fantastic mentor. And he's there all the time putting in the work, and just glad that he's able to get on this with us. So Jay, go for it.
I am Jenvier, and I am the mentor / I coach the classes. And outside of Project Onyx, I am a personal trainer.
Amazing. I'm so glad to have you both on here today. This is our first ever episode where I have two guests. So this is a very exciting moment. So let's talk about Project Onyx, what it is, the inspiration behind it, and your mission.
Yeah, for sure. So Project Onyx, and Jay, you could talk about what you feel like Project Onyx is to you also, but it was built out of a recognition for the need for Black and Brown people to have more access and to feel more included and more belonging in spaces of fitness and health, and to give them more access to those things because we see such a huge disparity in both of those. And fitness obviously plays such a huge part in somebody's health potential and their life expectancy and so many different factors. And when it comes to looking at racial inequities, we know that Black people especially and other people of color suffer bigger detriment to their health on a large spectrum of issues. And when we saw the lack of representation in these different fields, from fitness coaches and CrossFit and other fitness fields to healthcare providers like myself and physical therapy, we figured that the best way we could do this is by impacting our youth to gain that interest, to help them gain that knowledge and that exposure to those different things, and just give them people that truly cared about them, that looked like them, that they can vision themselves potentially becoming, even if it's not the professional version of us, it's the version of us that's showing that we care and that we want to be there for them no matter what. So that's really what Project Onyx is to me. And we got started out of that necessity and that vision.
That's so awesome. Jay, I would love you to give us your input here too.
For me, I would say Project Onyx was more of a way to save kids from anything that they're going through. Like for me, after high school, I had nothing else to do. So, and I was, and after high school, I had nothing to do, but I was also going through, so I was just living with me and my mom, and we're going through some financial problems. And meeting Easy at that time, like a few months after I graduated, it was the biggest thing, because honestly, I do not know I don't know if I would have been in the place I am right now if I did not get to meet him and be put in a place that takes me out of anything. Like for me to have someone to look up to and to actually know that I can do things right without putting myself in a situation that's gonna either get me killed or put me in jail. But on top of that, having kids being able to have someone to look up to, for like a lot of kids have it's like Project Onyx, it was made to be a safe place for kids to be able to come in, and if they want to talk or something is going on in their lives, it's there for them to not just be there to be fit, but to also be mentally sound and have someone to always be able to contact to whenever they need them.
I love that. And I love that you pointed out that it's not just about like the physical aspect. And I think that's so wonderful. And for all of us who are listening to you guys speaking, maybe you could give us a rundown of how Project Onyx works. So you have this really incredible mission. So what does that look like between the coaches and the athletes?
Yeah, so our typical Project Onyx structure is classes throughout the week. And right now we host 3 to 4 each week. And essentially it's an hour long. Elijah basically offers his space for us to bring young adults, teenagers into the space. Jay largely drives most of the kids to the gym right now. And we bring them to the gym. We have some thoughtful discussion. We ask them how they're doing. Sometimes it's like more of like a topic that we will talk about specifically. Maybe it's like, what are you going through right now that you need some guidance on, or that you need to talk about? Or it's like, how is school going? And then we'll even get into tougher, more culturally recognized events and be like, how are you responding to what's going on right now in the world? We do that for as long as we need to. Typically, we set it up where it's 50-50 split, talk for 50% of the time, and then we'll bring them through some fitness for the other half of the session. And really, it's just that time is like, if we need to take an hour to let them all say what they want and need to say, then we do that. And we don't pressure anybody to have to say anything, but to just know like, hey, these people are being vulnerable. It makes me feel safe that I can at least be here, and know that other people maybe feel similarly to me. And that's the piece that Jay was talking about. And then the other piece is just helping them through fitness, giving them instruction, giving them coaching. And that's not only for the kids who are going through the class, but for people who, like Jay, transitioning into a coaching role where he gets those repetitions of being that mentor and trying to learn how to talk to them with his own voice and from a coaching and mentorship and leadership position. And that's essentially what every one of our sessions looks like.
I love it so much. I feel like having you on is a really fantastic opportunity to really use what you do to educate not only myself, but everybody who's listening and anybody we can get to listen. You're supporting the Black community and people of color. What is the reason that they don't have the opportunities necessarily, or it's not as easily accessible for them to be involved in fitness and health?
Yeah. Jay, if you want to start talking about like personal experience and what you're seeing, and I could talk about the literature and the data side of it.
Yeah. For me, personally, what I would say, like, from my parents. So I was raised with my single mother, and all she does is basically work. She does not have time to even work out, and if she does have some time, it's either she has to do some groceries or has to take care of something, and she's usually back home in pain and not able to even get on a treadmill or be able to even work out. We do stretches, and that's about the only type of fitness related things I can actually say that we do. Like, there's a lot of people that I know, from parents, but also from like kids. When it comes to kids, I would say the biggest thing is either if they're not doing it at school, outside of school, they're not able to because they're not financially able to actually pay for it, which makes another big problem. Like, okay, like they can probably pay for Planet Fitness, but when it comes to that, it's like you have no coaching, you have no one to actually show you what to do. So you're just there just to be there, just to get whatever gains that you want to do. But now you have Project Onyx, who's there to coach you through it, to give you a program that you can follow, whatever type of fitness you like. So that's the biggest thing for me that I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfectly said, Jay. And that affordability of it is such a huge part to access. And when I think about access, I think about it on multiple levels, from kind of like that humanistic, personalized level to the actual like system that has been created to prevent access. And Jay has it on that personal level where he's talking about, people that struggle financially, Black people and brown people that struggle financially, need to prioritize the things in their life that are going to either help themselves or help their family immediately, right? So for someone like Jay's mom, who either needs to work or rest or do things for the household, then it's like you don't have time to pursue that fitness side, even if it is just within your home. It's not prioritized, and it's not shown as something that needs to be a priority for you when we value economics so much. It's like, if you don't have economic stability, then what is the first thing that you need to do? You need to provide yourself a home, you need to provide yourself water and electricity and food. It's like, if all of your time is being spent on those things, and then the other side is like rest for yourself, then that's what you do. And then if you have some type of injury or pain condition on top of that, it's like, well, if I can't do anything fitness related because of my pain, then it's going to be deprioritized even further. And it's not because of them, and they're not actively doing that. It's like the way that society is structured is forcing me to act in this way. So that's a huge part. It's the economic burden for some Black people and some brown people can lead down that path. Right?
Yeah.
And it's important to say some, because a lot of people tie the economics to the issue only, and that's the only side that they see. So many people that I talk to about this from a PT or fitness perspective is like, okay, well, I can't give, discounted memberships to everybody. And you're like, well, your thought process of only thinking of discounting memberships is part of the problem, because that's not the only thing that's preventing kids from going to your gym or from adults going to your gym. It's like, what about the ones that can't afford it? Like, why are they not coming? So for some people, it's access from like a geographical issue, like the actual location of the fitness equipment that they can access, and the locations that they can get some type of membership.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's like, well, if it takes me, if I have to go a roundabout way to even get to that location, and then I have an economic burden to even buy the membership, and then when I go to that space, there's nobody that really looks like me or that I can really connect with to feel like I even am welcome there. It's like, what would be pushing them to pursue that?
Right.
And it's like, how is the system being designed to make them feel welcome, to feel included? And that's another mistake that we make so much, is that we put the burden solely on the individual to take control of their life, which I do believe in. Like, we have responsibilities as individuals to take care of ourselves. But when everything around us is set up and telling us that we aren't allowed to, or aren't welcome to, or don't have the access to do those things, it's like your personal responsibility can only go so far.
Right.
So access from an economic, location, representation, like the actual culture of the environment, it is huge. There's so many different pieces to that equation that affect people differently. And Jenvier's family's example is a perfect example of that.
So, and I don't think that there's really a simple answer to the question I'm about to ask, but from your perspective and everything that you're doing with Project Onyx, what is the solution? Might not be the right word, but like, how do we get in the direction of making it more accessible? Like you said, a lot of it's about representation and not feeling like you can go into a place and relate and like feel welcome. So what are the steps that what are the steps that need to be taken? What's the direction? What's the solution? Like, how do you see that?
Yeah. Me and Jay have talked about this like one-on-one, and something that I told him, this was back when we went to Minnesota last year, Jay, was my goal with Project Onyx was to literally replace the system. Like if the system is largely the thing that dictates how everything rolls, then we replace that. Like it sounds simple and it's definitely not going to be an easy task, but that's what we sought out to do. It was like, we are going to work on all of those levels that I just mentioned. Yeah. We're going to make it completely free for our teenagers and young adults to participate. They literally pay nothing to do what we do from a weekly basis. Even some of the trips that we've done, we've almost 100% sponsored them, except for the things that they wanted to buy for their own personal gain. Yeah. So we make it accessible through economic opportunities. Obviously, this is something that's going to be hard to scale on a national level, but it's something that we're working on. We're starting to bring in new affiliates right now that are going to be doing the exact same thing.
That's amazing.
So, again, that leads into geographical access. Like we are going to make it so that people can access us. We're only in one location in Des Moines right now, but something that we're working on doing is getting a Project Onyx bus, so that we can bring kids to locations or look into alternative locations where we could run these programs. Because if we get something like the CrossFit community involved and the gyms are willing to donate their space, or we find a space that is in the location where most of our target clients would be, then that's where we're going to move, is like move toward the people, make it more accessible for them to even access it. So it's not a second thought, so that they don't have to like, oh, there's this barrier and there's that one, and I don't know the people there, and I don't know how I'm going to get there, and I don't know how long it's going to be. It's like we can minimize those variables by giving geographical access. Right. And then the other big one that we had was like getting the people that are already in the space that are Black and brown to put themselves in front of these young adults and teenagers. It's like, that's the other piece to it. So it's not simple and it's definitely not easy, but we believe it is doable.
Right. Is your vision to almost have it like an affiliate kind of thing where you have, say CrossFit gyms from all over the country, like participate in Project Onyx and have basically your setup just in different locations?
That's exactly what it's going to be.
That is so exciting and so cool. So what's next for Project Onyx?
So right now we just have the one gym. And Jay, you could talk about some like the CrossFit level 1 stuff that we've been working on too. But with the affiliate program right now, we're working on bringing in 2 different gyms. And we will announce those as they come up, and we can be more certain about the future with them. But the goal is to be in as many places as possible in the US. How long that takes, we're not sure, but we're all new to this, right? We are not people who got into the field of nonprofit work because that was like something that we were just drawn to and we got degrees for it. Like we are just passionate about our mission and the Black and brown kids that we want to help out. And that's how we're approaching it. We're trying to build a team that is going to support us and help us fulfill our mission. And we're getting really good people on our side. But right now it's just a solo affiliate at Unorthodox Fitness in Grimes, Iowa. But we're looking to spread out a little bit more. And as we build that team, we'll keep branching out and keep making this a program that is sustainable and actually does exactly what we say it's going to do.
Absolutely. Jay, do you have anything to throw in there?
Yeah, so we are also trying to get as many of the adults to be able to get certified, level 1 certification, so we can have more classes throughout the week. And on top of that, there's this other place that one of the board members works at that also wants us to run a class there. So with that, we just need some other youth or adults to be able to get certified, so we can actually have more people over there running a class like once or twice a week.
Right. So exciting. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit here because you've posted some things on social media lately that I just really love the message behind, and it's clear that you are educating people on the Black community. And I think that's so important. So I want to mention two things that you posted recently that I absolutely loved and I would love for you to expand on. One was on Martin Luther King Day, and you posted something about how people just post parts of like a quote, and it's almost like they're just falling into the social media culture of it, but don't really understand what's behind that. And to be like completely transparent, like guilty. Like I posted a quote for 13 Fit Apparel, with all good intentions.
Yeah.
But then I read your post and I was like, wow, like that, that struck something for me. So I would love for you to talk more about that. And then the other thing that you, I think you posted it yesterday, and it was about Black History Month and how it's not just about history, but it's also about the future. And that also was like, it just gave me goosebumps. So I would love for you to expand on those things.
Yeah. Jay, you didn't make the post about Martin Luther King Day, but do you want to talk about like what you see that as far as like what does MLK Day mean to you, and why is it important for people to look beyond just a quotable moment?
For me, honestly, I was thinking about this the other day, but I'm still contemplating exactly what it actually means to me, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a tough one because it's loaded, right? Like it's something that we can just look at as like, oh, this is a celebration just like any other. But a lot of what we talk about is action, right? It's not just talking about Black history. It's not talking about somebody who was one of the massive leaders in the movement, but it's being truthful of everything that he represented, right? A lot of people just look at this unity side of Dr. King's message and just really lean onto that, like the most famous quote that he has is like not judging somebody by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. It's like, yes, like we understand that part of his message, but if we just take that isolated dot of color in the whole picture of his painting that he made of his life, it's like this only represents a very small portion of what he was talking about. And really what all of those leaders and the leaders that we see today are talking to is recognizing the truth of Black history, not only from the moments that we have sustained oppression throughout the years, but also looking at the successes and highlighting those who have made massive changes and have made massive progress. And that progress not being recognized. And beyond that, it's seeing like, this isn't something that you could passively just go through and say something that has good meaning. Like you need to act upon that. Like, what does it mean to transition from judging somebody by their color of their skin to the content of their character? What needs to happen in the in-between that we need to do to get to that place? It's great sentiment, and philosophically it makes a lot of sense. I think nobody would really argue that. But the truth is, in the world today, the way that we treat people is influenced by the color of their skin. The way that they're treated by the system, the way that they're treated in individual interactions is that way. And what we need to do is take action, equitable action, to give everybody what they need as a community and as individuals to overcome that. It's like to put it not so gently, is like putting your money where your mouth is. Like if what you can do right now is donate and support a Black-owned business or Black-run nonprofit, then do that. But in the meantime, you need to continue to grow. You need to continue to find the resources and understand that even though maybe that's the sentiment that aligns with you, that you want to treat everybody by the content of the character, is that there are things on the underneath of the surface that you cannot recognize that you might be doing that is perpetuating racism. And you need to look deep within yourself. You need to learn more. Like you need to take action, educate yourself, reflect on yourself, and then start coming up with a strategy of things that you can do to actually make a change. Like just putting a quote is not educating yourself, is not reflecting on your own action, and it's not true action that's going to make a change. Maybe it's the spark, but you need to let it become that little fire that grows into a massive flame that like can make the difference, that people can actually see the effect of.
Wow. Okay. So you're saying, actually act on these things. And you said something, and I'm not going to be able to say it exactly how you said it, but you said something about how like underneath you might be acting in ways that are perpetuating racism. Mm-hmm. In what ways, I guess, is my question. In what ways, and how, and then what can you do to not do that? if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, again, it's one of those things that's easy to say and harder to do.
Yeah.
Because if we can't recognize them, it's like, how do we gain that access to even being self-aware? So I do a lot of my own research in the world of physical therapy and health. And something that's been tossed around in the racism conversation is implicit bias. This idea that we have biases that are outside of our conscious awareness, mm-hmm. that can affect our behavior just from like a physical standpoint, the way that you posture yourself, or the actual actions that you take, or the way that you say things, where it's like maybe somebody's intentions were in the right place, but the message received by the other person was not where we needed to be. Right. So it's gaining an understanding of how that can present. So in the world of physical therapy and healthcare, it's having shorter communication times with doctors. When Black people go into a doctor's office, they have to wait longer and they get shorter sessions with the doctor. So, maybe we justify that as the doctor being efficient, that he or she or they are being efficient with their time and going through it quickly, or we could see it as a reflection of implicit bias against that person or people that look like them, right? We also see that doctors take up more time as far as the communication between them. So doctors are taking up more of the time with their own voice rather than asking the person and diving deeper into the person's experience. So we see these actions and these behaviors act out in real life scenarios. And when we cross-reference that with an actual test of somebody's biased for or against a certain race, then we see that it aligns with anti-Black bias. Right. That's just from a Black versus white perspective and not looking into the other races and ethnicities that are affected by that as well. So that's just one example of like, how do we even gain more awareness, is by actually looking at what that looks like. Because then once you know what it looks like, if you commit something like that, then you could be like, oh, that I actually need to question myself of why I said that, where that comes from, and how I can be better next time. And that's where you implement strategies to like, okay, how do I combat that? And then I think another part is like not feeling bad for having implicit bias as long as you are taking action to address it. Yeah. Implicit bias just forms, right? It forms outside of your awareness. And it forms by our experiences, by the way that we're raised, by our education. And those things occur. It's like as kids and as young adults and as we grow, it's not our responsibility to know if what we're being taught is right or wrong. It's too hard to have that awareness. You rely on the people that are teaching you to tell you the things that are right and are wrong or are accurate. And as you gain more awareness, you can start deciding these things for yourself. But at the same time, it's like what in our culture is framed as right and just and fine versus what actually truly is right and just and fine.
I think a lot of people, and I can't, like myself included, wouldn't want to admit anything. Like you don't want to admit that you have this like subconscious bias, because that doesn't feel good as a person to like admit those things. So I think it's really great that you said that, because if you can be okay with understanding that that's just the way you may have been raised or whatever, but then like you said, like if you realize it, take action on it. And I think it was just like so beautifully said. And I really, really appreciate that a lot. Because I think.
Can I clarify something about that as well?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're saying this, but it's a combination of not feeling guilty, but accepting responsibility 100%, right? Yes. Like, it's like these things form outside of my control, largely outside of my control, except for maybe 10% of people that are just explicitly racist and perpetuating these things. But at the same time, I am fully responsible for my actions. I'm fully responsible for my thoughts and where this takes me next, right? And then the other side of it is a lot of times, like you said, admitting that we have these biases doesn't feel good. But when we put that focus on ourselves, then we're losing our ability to decenter ourselves and how it's affecting us individually rather than how it's impacting millions of people around, I would say, the globe.
Yeah.
Because I think this has become an international problem. I don't think it's just isolated to the US, right? Slave trade, the start of racism, went all over South America, North America, went to the UK, it went to the European countries. Like, this is a thing that we obviously see massive effect in the US, but is everywhere. And the reason I bring up that history is because we so many times just think of the isolated moment rather than the larger picture and saying, this doesn't feel good for me right now. Imagine what it feels like to be on the other side of that and experiencing it every day.
Yeah. And I appreciate you stopping me to clarify that, because I want to know, and I want to be able to do better. So I do appreciate you stopping me and making that clarification. My next question is for Jay. And I'm kind of backtracking back to Project Onyx, but we can talk about whatever we want at any time. It's, Jay. So how do you feel Project Onyx has changed, or changed is probably not the word I want to use, affected you, like, internally? Like how do you feel that your mindset has changed? Has your confidence changed? Like, what has this process of, being a mentee and now being a coach, also congratulations on that. Like, that whole process has to feel so amazing and empowering. And I would love to hear more about that.
One thing I can say it's really changed me a lot. Like, one thing about me is I'm not much of a social person. Communication has never been my strong suit at all. But being with Project Onyx has helped me to be able to grow, to improve my communication now, especially now with me being a personal trainer and coaching. It has improved a lot. I deliver information better, way better than I used to have, for sure. And I have been given I'm in a place where, since like I am like out of Elijah and Patrick and Nadia and Tamara, I have been put in a place where I have to be on my A game the entire time. So having to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do, and being that leader, and being able to be there for everyone that I can, and making sure that I'm on time for picking up the kids, and being consistent. So when I say being consistent, that's more like, so they know how much you need time you need to put in for things to be done, and for their goals to be reached. They need to actually put in the work, but not just put in the work, but be there every day and put in the time that they need to, and not being able to quit, especially when it comes to fitness. We are very competitive. Very competitive. So like I like, since I am the oldest, I am now being like, I have to be way more consistent, put in more work than I ever have, being like trying to keep making sure that I'm the strongest and the fittest, which is, it's honestly the best thing ever. Now I've been put, like, I have to actually work. I cannot just rest any day that I want. I have to actually be on top and be able, and like, even though like I do have some hard days, and I do have Project Onyx, I have Elijah or Patrick that I can go to, and then being able to be there for them and be able to smile and being able to hear them out when they're going through things. That's really that's like the best thing for me as of right
Wow.
now.
I would love to speak on how I feel like I've been lucky enough to have somebody like Jay be the first one that's transitioned into mentorship,
Yeah,
because
please.
at first it was tough, right? Jay is like 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late, like what happened? Oh, this person was slow and that person is slow. And then, all those different things that it's like when you're running a nonprofit, and this is not something that I say out of like, I am the one to go to for this, because I'm not. It's a lot of work. And the few people that we have on our team are putting in a lot of work outside of their 9 to 5s that they have to do for Project Onyx. And we have not put Jay in a position where we felt like we had to just carry him around everywhere that we went. It's like, Jay, we need you to do this. Like, we are relying on you to be this person for them. Like, if it's just driving them here, it's like, we need you on time. And it's like, that's your task. And he's like, yep, I got it. And slowly over time got better and better. He got his timing down. He like made sure that it's not even just him. It's like, I am responsible for if we are on time or not. It's not me saying that this person is slow or this person is late. If that person's slow, it's because I didn't get there on time and I didn't make it as much a priority for that person. Like him becoming the leader and taking that responsibility of other people's actions, being like, we're late because of me. I'm the one driving the car. I decide if the car gets there on time. So that's just a small example. We went to the CrossFit Games and we had, I don't know, 15 of our members with us,
Yeah.
of our teenage young adult members with us. And so many times when we as board members or leaders in Project Onyx had something to do, it was like, Jay, make sure they're here on time, make sure like everybody, we know where everybody is, like you are responsible for the group. And he takes it on. And it's like every time he has proved to us each opportunity that he can be that person. And that's why he's now somebody that's like, if nobody can be there, we know Jay is going to be there, and it allows us to keep making this thing successful. We're only able to bring on affiliates and bring in more kids and look at more opportunities to expand because somebody like Jay, and I will say Jay specifically, has been the person that allowed us to take on those tasks without having to separate our time and our focus. Like I can focus on things because I know Jay is there. And it's because of him that we can expand. So like it's a bigger deal than just him becoming a mentor. It's like he's the reason why we can do more with what we're doing.
Yeah. That is so cool. I feel like your heart must be exploding right now, Jay, with all the nice things that's saying about you. I mean, that's really, really incredible. And I'm sure it is so exciting to watch that happen. Like the mission that you've gone in with Project Onyx is like coming to life. And that's just incredible. So my next question is going to be a 2-part question. What can people do to support Project Onyx directly? And what can people do to support your mission outside of Project Onyx, just in everyday life?
Yeah. I'll talk about directly, and Jay, you could talk about things that people can just start doing just from your own experience. Like if they're not affiliated with Project Onyx, what can they do? But directly, we do have some things happening in the month of February for Black History Month that you can tune into. If you wanted to right now, as you're listening to this, support Project Onyx, you can go to our website, which is projectonyxdsm.com, and you could go to the donation link and you could donate to us directly. And if you want to support us through other avenues, we have our Instagram page. It's the exact same thing, Project Onyx DSM on Instagram, which has all the links to different opportunities that we have right now. We have some t-shirts and some merchandise that you could purchase. All those proceeds go back to the nonprofit, or like I said, just make a direct donation. But in the month of February, we have a few things that we're going to do. We're going to do a Black History Month workout sponsored by Project Onyx. That's going to be on the 8th, I believe. So we'll be putting out a workout for everybody to do just to drive some more awareness of what we're doing. We're going to be releasing new shirts specifically for Black History Month. That's going to highlight different people from the Black community, present and past, that have had an impact on us personally and the Black community at large, and the larger community of the entire US and the world. So we're going to be dropping and releasing that shirt, I think probably mid-February. On the 18th ish, we're hoping we're going to do a community DEI/anti-racism seminar, workshop, Q&A out of Elijah's gym. So people who are local to Des Moines, if you're listening to this, you could come on over and participate that. We're going to send out a link for people to sign up. And we also plan on doing it virtually so that people can just tune in live via Facebook or Instagram. And again, that's a fundraising opportunity. There's no cost associated with going to that seminar, but we do ask if you attend that instead of paying a fee to join, you just donate to Project Onyx instead. And then to finish off the month, we are going to do a Black History Month movie night. And we're also going to be doing 22.1 open workout, which I think it drops the weekend of the 23rd. So we'll be doing that as a community event locally. And we'll be doing something to kind of just commemorate the month with the people who are supporting us locally. So yeah, we had a few things that are going on. We'll keep everybody tuned in on everything that's happening.
That's amazing. I would, and Jay, I still want you to answer part 2 of that question, but I just want to follow up on one of the events that you mentioned about the DEI and anti-racism. What will that entail? Like, what does that mean, I guess? Like, what will you be talking about, covering? How will that work?
Yeah. So on the side of Project Onyx, outside of being a physical therapist and all the other stuff, I also train healthcare providers and fitness professionals, whoever really, on exactly what DEIB stands for. I add a B for belonging, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And we do that from an anti-racism lens. DEIB involves any oppressed person in our lives that deserves extra, needs extra in order to be at an equal standpoint. So equity versus equality is going to be one thing that we dive into, is like, how do we understand what those two different things mean? What truly is diversity? Like, what do we mean by diversity? Is it just Black people, or is it Black people with different perspectives? Is it Black people from different races and genders? Is it Black and brown people? Is it different ethnicities? Looking at belonging, truly, what does it mean to feel like you are included and you belong in the space? With CrossFit, and this isn't something of a negative, I think it's something that can be built upon, is that I think a lot of the belief in the CrossFit space is that everybody is welcome. It's like, you are more than welcome to come in. We want everybody to come here. But there's a difference between feeling welcome and feeling like you belong somewhere. And that's what we're going to dive into. And then it's just going to be like, how can you apply those principles to what you're doing right now? Like, how can you make your gym and the culture around that, and whatever space you occupy, how can you utilize the framework of DEIB to live out what you believe is true for yourself? It's just connecting those things to your values and being more aware of the presence or lack of presence of those things.
That's amazing. I will put a link to your website, and also we could put all the dates of each event in the show notes so people have a place to reference that too.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So Jay, part 2 of the question, how can people support your mission outside of Project Onyx?
So I would say honestly is one thing is you need to be open-minded to where you're going, like being open-minded. And why I say that, because if you want to help outside of Project Onyx, is one thing you can do is go somewhere near your city. Just go find either a youth group place or a place that some minority kids will be there, and being able to honestly listen and be able to trust them. Because if you don't trust me, if I would have met you and you don't trust me, I'm not gonna trust you either. So for you to be able to trust them, but also listen to what they've been through and what they're going through, and for you to be able to actually put your time in it to help them, like, or to do something that can help them. It doesn't need to be financially or one-on-one, but being able to show them that you are there for them, and that you do care, and you do want to make some type of change in the world. That's also one of the biggest way I can think of.
I love that. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Pat?
Oh, I think like just Jay's story from the beginning is highlighting exactly what he's saying, is that so many times people believe when it comes to racism specifically that their individual effort can't have enough of a change to move things in the right direction. I think that's why a lot of people get intimidated by approaching it. Specifically white people. It's like, who am I to actually make a change? Is my change even going to be meaningful? What do I even do to do that? It's like Jenvier's experience with Elijah is a specific example of one individual's impact on an entire community, right? Like,
Yeah.
I found Elijah and we teamed up on it, but if he didn't have Jenvier and another young gentleman named a.k.a. in the first place, then we would have had a harder time. But it's because of his individual impact on them. And yes, he's Black and he's a mentor that they can identify with from a racial perspective and maybe from their own personal experiences. But I think it was largely also because that in the face of everybody, of maybe Jay feeling like nobody was supporting him or there was nobody else there for him, Elijah was the person that he said he was going to be there. It's like, you need a place to hang out? Like, I'll give you a place. Like, he expected some stuff in return from you guys, right? Like, you guys agreed to clean the gym. He's like, I'll just give you a spot to work out. It's like, you guys need to make some money. You can come print shirts for me. And it's just him like building that genuine connection for them and being there for them. Just like Jay said, like, he trusted them. It wasn't a question of like his thoughts of what they might be like or who they might be. Is like, I'm actually going to learn who this person is like. I'm going to show them that I'm going to be vulnerable for them so that they can feel comfortable being vulnerable with me. And that's the backbone of what we try to do. And I think for other people is like, put your trust in others and rely that your individual act is going to benefit you, the person in front of you, and others around you, right? What does that mean when you go and say, hey, like, I just went to, this gym instead of my normal gym, and I played basketball and hung out with these kids for 2 hours. They're like, oh, can I come with you? Can I do that with you? And then it turns into a thing. It gains momentum. Like, hey, I went to this nonprofit, Big Brother, Big Sister, like, and started hanging out there a little bit. It's like, awesome. And then you need to share that with people. Don't keep it to yourself. It's not something that, like, the effect of the joy and the fulfillment that you're going to get out of that is going to exponentiate when you share it with more people. Like, that's what's going to happen. It's like, take those individual actions, share what you're doing with others. And it's not from like a perspective of like, hey, look at me, what I'm doing. It's like, this is something that I didn't realize is going to change my life for the better. And I want everybody to experience that.
Yeah. I love it. For our listeners, I know we already said your website, but where can they find you, follow along, get involved? Give us the rundown.
Yeah. So Instagram is where we're the most active. Project Onyx DSM on Instagram. Look us up. Me personally, I'm patford.dpt on Instagram. I'm posting stuff almost daily about DEI and anti-racism and everything about that conversation. And then Jay, you could share your handle too.
At JNVIR2@gmail.com. And that's Jenvier2 at, oh, whoa, that is my email.
People want to email you too.
You looking for some pen pals?
Jenvier3 for Gmail. Whoa. Okay, for Instagram.
You're really stuck on this email thing. You want everyone to email you.
It's like getting some networking.
So Jenvier 3 for my Instagram.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap this up and say bye?
Just that we appreciate support in any way possible. You guys are more than welcome to reach out to us, send us a personal message. We try to respond as timely as we can to everybody. And if you all are looking to get involved in any way possible, we would love to do that. And there might be maybe a Project Onyx sponsored competition in the near future. So if we need volunteers, we'll be looking for that too. So
yeah. So everybody keep an eye on their Instagram. Yep. And on Jay's Gmail account. Thank you guys so much for taking time today to talk about your mission and your journeys and sharing and educating. I'm really excited to launch this podcast. So thank you for being here.
Can I first thank you before we leave?
Please go ahead.
If people that are listening to this don't know, Paige was a huge reason why we got momentum to start off with. They were the first group, Paige and Kim Seeley, first two people to do a fundraiser for Project Onyx ever. And that
you're gonna make me cry.
Goes down in history. Like that is something that gave us proof that we were doing something that other people wanted to support. And because you jumped in early and you just went for it, like we've been able to do a lot of things that we've done. So without that first, like it doesn't happen. So you guys did that for us and we really appreciate that.
I didn't know that. So you're like totally hitting an emotional thing right now. It was so exciting when we found out about you guys because Kim and I wanted to do this project so bad. And for those listening who don't know, we did a campaign called Celebrate Diversity, and we donated a portion of proceeds to Project Onyx. The universe put us in alignment. And I'm so grateful for that.
For sure. We appreciate it as well.
Well, thank you for thanking me and making me cry in my podcast. Cool. All right, guys. Well, yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Move More, Worry Less. If you love this episode, please subscribe, share, rate, or review us to help us grow our mission. If you don't already, follow us on social at 13 Fit Apparel and visit our website at www.13fitapparel.com. Thanks for listening.